Good morning. This one's going to be about Genesis, and this is a little segmented because it's basically just a bunch of notes I've been jotting down about things I want to point out. This is for Genesis literalists, the people who think that Genesis is an actual part of actual history. But I'm going to start it out with this. According to your beliefs, and this is based on fundamentalist Christian dogma, your God is the only being that can create something out of nothing. Your God knows everything, past, present, and future. Because of this, we can determine with certainty that your God created Satan, your God created hell, your God created punishment for a lack of belief in him, your God created infinite torture for finite crimes, and your God created the need, quote-unquote, for evil. And the reason I bring that part up is because I hear a lot of people say that evil was necessary in order for there to be free will, because you wouldn't be able to know one without the other, etc., etc. The reason that doesn't apply is because you are creating an assumption that there was that need to begin with. When there was absolutely nothing, if you believe that that is the way it is, God chose it to be that way. In other words, your argument that there needed to be evil to understand free will is irrelevant, because the need itself, if that is the case, was again created by God. So in short, your God created everything with the intent to make humans suffer and succumb to his illogical and unnecessary ultimatum of believe in him or be sent to hell. Now, Genesis starts out, I'm not going with any verses this time because this is all over Genesis, and this is going to be basically my own summations of the various points about Genesis. Now, this starts out with the two trees. And humorously, some Christians forget that there were two trees, not just one. There was the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and there was the tree of life. Now, the problem with this is that the sin allegedly began when Eve decided to listen to the talking snake, which is another point I'll get into in a second, and eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, even though God had said not to. And she is punished for disobeying. Now, the problem here is that if you do not know what good and evil are, if you do not have the knowledge of right and wrong, then you do not understand that disobeying is a wrong action. You do not understand that disobeying is an evil action. So she was punished for something that she could not possibly have known the consequences of. Well, okay, that's actually not fair. I'll correct myself. She did know that God said that she will surely die. But that's not really the same as knowing that what you're doing is wrong. The other part is that when everything transpires and that Adam has eaten too, God talks to himself in third person, again, for the second time in Genesis, and says that they need to leave the Garden of Eden, because if they also eat of the tree of life, they will become like us. And that part I find particularly interesting, in that basically what God is saying there through implication is that knowledge of good and evil plus immortality makes you a god. And I'm not really stretching anything there. That's basically what is being said. And then I have to wonder why. Why is that like a bad thing? Why did you put them there in the first place? But this goes back again to God created the trees, God created the temptation, God created the ability to do wrong. Why? If you wanted to have, if you're going to demand that perfection is had, then what is the point of pretending that you care about free will? That doesn't make any sense. Especially when, you know, like it's often said, even by theists, that a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. Well, coercion is not the same as faith. I mean, I don't believe your God exists, but if if for some reason, somehow, he actually was real and proved himself to me in a manner that I would believe was not just a hallucination or a delusion, I still would not worship him because of his complete lack of morality. Like, he is just a sick motherfucker, dude. I don't know how else to say it. In all of literature, there are not many creatures that actually are up to par with his level of hideousness. And he does all these things quite obviously for his own ego, to sate his own sick desires, which I can only assume that after living for an infinite amount of time is due to some sort of ambivalence. He has got these raging emotions about his creation. And you know, you can't sit there and try to tell me that God doesn't have varying emotions, because if you've read the Bible at all, it's obvious that he does. And due to the fact that it's human authors writing it, there's an obvious reason it seems that way, but even by your own beliefs, there are quite human emotions. He's not special. He's got jealousy coming out of his ass and reeking all over us. So that's just the part about the trees, and I'm not even really done with it, but the trees themselves present so much of a problem with the Genesis story that it really needs to be brought up. And then the talking snake. To make a point about the talking snake, it is always said that the talking snake was Satan, and I have never read anywhere that, except in some people's bullshit interpretations of what they think went on in Genesis, that the talking snake was actually Satan. That is a complete just fabrication by somebody. I don't even know who started that nonsense. But Genesis does not ever say that it was Lucifer, or that it was Satan, or that it was Beelzebub, or that it was the devil, or anything. No, it's just the talking snake. So that's another problem with Christian dogma, is that it goes on repeating nonsense that it hears from some person, and they never verify anything for themselves, Christians. They just take it all on faith, and they assume that somebody knows what they're talking about because they claim to be a Christian. Well, read the Bible for yourself for once, and actually learn something about the book that you claim was sent from the creator of the universe. I mean, really? Those of you who actually think that the Bible is the perfect word of God, the guy who wrote the whole universe into existence with a thought, and you don't read the Bible. I mean, I know why you don't, because deep down you know the Bible is bullshit, but if you really think that it is the Word of God, I really think that you would take the time to read it in its entirety, if it not once, more than once. I mean, at least once. Come on. If I knew that Xenu of Scientology was real, and he had sent this manuscript down to save our souls and crap, or save us from thetans, whatever the hell his gig is, I would read that Scientologist manuscript back to front, back to front, back to front, all the time. Why? I want to know it inside and out. And it's disgusting how much you guys don't know about your own Bible. So that is going to be part one of this, and I've got more points to go over, but because of how royally screwed up Genesis is, I'm going to have to turn this into a few sections. So that's part one, and I'll be back probably in a day to finish up part two later.